Hey guys, we're here for our art lesson today and I'm going to be showing you how we can make our own rock art. Okay, so rock art is something that's really fun to do. I like to do it sometimes on the weekend. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I've done in the past before. Okay, so it's really fun. You can use them for lots of things. You can use them to decorate your room. You can use them to decorate your house. You can give them as gifts. So sometimes you can write little cute messages on them and give them to people. You can also use them as a paperweight. So a paperweight is like a weight for paper. So let's just say we turned the fan on, the paper might blow everywhere, but if we have a paperweight, it holds it down and the paper won't go anywhere. Okay, so you could use it as a paperweight. You could make, there's some really cute animals you could make, like a ladybug or a fish. You could do cute little monsters. There's so many things you can do. So to do this activity, you're going to need to get yourself a rock. Some rocks will work better than others. You don't want one that's too sandy, or really smooth is sometimes tricky as well. So you want to kind of find one in between. Make sure you ask your parents whether you're allowed to take it. It might already be a garden decoration. So before you paint it, check with them. So the other things you're going to need is some paint, a paintbrush, and some water to clean your brush in. I like to have some tissues there too, so just so that I can put my brush on the tissue and then I don't get water anywhere. The other thing that's most important, make sure that you have something to put underneath your rock and the paint when you're painting so that you don't get the table dirty. Okay, so I'm using newspaper. So this is the set of rock art that I painted when my dog passed away, and you can see that I've used a similar colour scheme. So I stuck to about 4 or 5 different colours. So I used that in on all of the rocks, to make sure that the colours tie in together and that they look harmonious as a set. So that means that they work well together. Okay, so I've also done lots of different patterns. You can see this is the one with her name. Her name was Ginger, and I called her that because she had a lot of like an apricot kind of ginger colour through her. So that's why I've chosen to use that kind of apricot gold colour. And I've used this kind of like a vine pattern around the edge. You can also use the natural shape of the rocks. So you can see this rock had a bit of a, it already kind of had its own border. So I just followed that round to do the border. And the other pattern that I did a lot is her favourite toy, Ginger. She loved to play with this little giraffe toy she had. So that's why you can see that I've done this pattern over here, and I've used the same kind of pattern but with different colours. So there's lots of different ideas you can try. You can put some shapes in. You can do more of an abstract thing. So abstract means it's just kind of a bit more free and expressive. So to begin, you don't have to do this, but the colours are a little bit brighter if you start with a white base. I'm going to brush that in. And when you're doing it, try and keep your strokes nice and neat. So see how I'm not going like this. I'm trying to go the same way. And then what you'll notice is that you kind of get little lines. That's called your brush stroke. And you want a nice, neat brush stroke. When it dries, you can see it a little bit. So if I just went like that, it would look really messy. So what I'm going to do is let this dry and then come back to it in a little bit. It's probably good to set yourself up a little space that you can leave it there to dry and come back to. So I've decided to make a ladybug with my rock. And what I'm going to do, you can do this with yours too, whatever you're making, but doing some pencil lines on it can help give you a guide. Okay, so I'm going to have a think about which end I want to be the head and which end I want to be the body, and I think it makes better sense for this end to be the head because it's a little bit smaller, so that'll mean that I get a bit more colour on the wing section. Okay, so I'm just going to, this will be where I do the head for the eye. So what I'll do is I'm going to fill this section in black. And then I'm going to do a line down the body too. This is extra sturdy art paper, so I know it's not going to go on the through the paper. But you might have a little art palette that you can mix on, or ask your parents to help you so that you've got something sturdy to use. And again, I'm thinking about my brush strokes. Okay, so you can be kind of a bit, like you can just go for it in these sections, but where you're coming closer to your lines, I'm just going to leave a bit of space because I know that I want that black line down the middle. If you do go in the middle, it doesn't matter because you can just wait for it to dry and then go for it in black. You might need to move what you're painting. Oopsie daisies. Okay, so you can see in art, that's called a happy accident. Whenever you make mistakes in art, it's part of being human, okay? It happens, and you just have to work with it, okay? So that's all right. I'll just have to work with it, and I'm just going to blend it out. All fixed, okay? So if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You just have to find a way to make it work. Okay, so when you come to do the part that's a little bit thinner, you want a smaller brush to do it with. And remember, make sure your brush isn't too wet. I also let the red paint dry before I did this so that my hand wouldn't spread the red paint everywhere. Here I'm painting around the circles that I drew before as a guide. And now I'm just about to do the pupil, the middle part of the eye. So I'm going to get an even smaller brush for that. A little bit of paint. I'm just going to steady my hand to put the dot in the middle. And there we go. So now I just have to do the spots for my ladybug. Make sure the red part is dry when you do the spots. Again, if it helps you, you can draw it in pencil first. But then just try and paint on top of the pencil that you've drawn. So I'm just going to neaten up around the sides, and that's the finished ladybug rock art. I hope you have fun making your own. So I've had these rocks in my garden. If you are going to put them outside, they won't last as long unless you use a varnish. So that's if you want to. Otherwise, you can just leave them inside and they'll last for a long time.